2 months ago, we have published our beautiful book, The Urban Revolution is a Fun Sketch. On the cover page, we have illustrated the Justice Palace of Brussels as a giant octopus who is raging the city. 1 month later, out of the blue, out of nowhere, a giant sculpture of an octopus has been installed right in front of the Justice Palace of Brussels.
So how is this possible? Is this some cosmic coincidence, or our expertise is so good that we are now some kind of urban fortune tellers capable of predicting the future of our cities? I mean, what is the connection between the Justice Palace of Brussels, this giant octopus over here, and our book? You are watching Stripping Architecture, and in this episode we are going to strip the architecture of our cities by promoting our freshly published book, The Urban Revolution is a Fun Sketch. The book that you must have it, because those who have it love it. So this behind me is the Justice Palace of Brussels, and many times we have talked about its controversial history. But its controversy is not limited only to its past. This mega structure with all these complex ornamentics, it's a pure madness in terms of funding and maintenance. I mean, for example, with the purpose of renovating the front facade only, there was a team of 10 people doing the technical documentation for full 2 years. That's a lot of energy spent on labor, finances and time, only for preparational work. I mean, it's not a mystery why there was almost 40 years a scaffolding standing around this building. In addition to this, the full restoration of the building is majorly being funded by public budget. And you know, when we talk about public funds, it's kinda hard to identify the palace of James Bond's villain as a priority, if you know what we mean. Anyways, this building really has potential to be reinvented as a building that will generate self-sufficient funding. However, for some reason, it seems like the authorities and the general public won't compensate its glorious style for feasible, down-to-earth solutions that will generate genuine purpose and revenue for the citizens. So in that sense, this building has controversial history, very problematic symbolism, and is very difficult to be maintained. Yet, the general public is not ready on converting this building in more sustainable and feasible solution. I mean, that's pure madness. That is why in our book we have illustrated this massive building as a burden that is continuously being carried by the people. This building is literally an intercultural, psychological and financial burden that we cannot get rid of.
While talking about controversial structures, here we are again in front of a monumental building, the Cinquantenaire, also known as the Eupil Park. A park that hosts a glorious monumental arch and multiple sculptures that talks about the brutal colonial history of Belgium carried out by the notorious King Leopold II.
The purpose of this arch was to commemorate 50 years of the Belgian independence. But it is quite symptomatic that this independence was so infected by a colonial narrative. At moments, it feels like all this glory was meant to wash off the dirty businesses of the royal elites by offering populistic impression of fame and superiority. If you think about it, it often feels strange that the history of suffering, exploitation and sorrow can be embodied by a glorifying monument such as this one.
Are these monuments actually a distraction with the purpose of replacing the brutal colonial history with victory and glory?
Therefore, in our book, we have sketched this monumental arch as a polished piece of architecture, supporting the difficult past that is metaphorically illustrated as a wall of heavy megaliths. In this kind of setting, this arch has only one purpose: to offer successful transition from the past towards the future with fabricated stories of victory and success. Well, enough talking about monuments, let's go down to earth architecture and the everyday citizen's life. This behind me over here is a social housing block. A few years ago there was a very nice idea, a competition call about improving and enhancing the apartment units. So we wanted to collect some insights from the residents and we went inside to talk with some of the residents. And most common the reaction was, well, you know what? You can really very easily improve these units over here would really appreciate if there were nicely designed and efficiently integrated storage rooms. You can't expect a family with minimum 2 children to live in an apartment without a decent storage room.
In all honesty, we witness how architects are concerned about these issues, but sometimes due to convenience and affordability, many floor plans are being introduced as open room concept, justified under the umbrella term flexibility. And this is very obvious on the rear side of this building. As you can see, the balconies are often used as an additional storage room instead of as a place that offers additional life quality. Therefore, in our book we have imagined how these kind of social housing blocks have terraces overloaded with variety of boxes storing belongings of the residents. These items are metaphor of their life, the need for expansion of the property that is loosely hanging on some sort of unstable cables and ropes.
Another subject that we find quite ridiculous is this one over here. Residential units on top of a gas station. Can you imagine this huge debate about how our environment should be healthy? Friendly streets for pedestrians, nice residential buildings with less cars. And yet you find such an example, residential units on top of gas station.
Can you just imagine if right in front of your door there is continuous car traffic? Imagine constant smell of gas and tires, and you sleep on top of this kind of filthy and risky setting. Imagine having kids and living in these kind of circumstances. Ironically, we have personally heard stories how people are expressing their gratitude and how they're happy to live on top of the gas stations. They claim that thanks to the apartments on top of the gas stations, people can find more affordable living units. This is just sad. Therefore, with the purpose of raising the awareness about this topic, we have illustrated this sort of living units as homes that are resting on top of barrels of gas that in any time might explode. What kind of feeling must be to live on top of tons of petrol and other flammable and explosive-prone material? Would you like that? Would you? So far we have mentioned only 4 study cases, but in this book you will find in total 70 illustrations with 70 study cases that are illustrated in fun and thought-provoking way. Right next to each illustration you will find a framework that will encourage you to detect these sorts of urban phenomena and to be able to express and communicate urban complexities with fun sketches. This strategy is also well elaborated with 50 additional pages of text. And technical details about this book. In total we have 3 versions of this book. The first one is paperback with very strong and thick 170 grams paper. And the colors over here are with very strong contrasts. The next version that we have is this one over here. This is the hardcover and it has 80 grams cream paper. And when you open it inside, all the illustrations and the text have this kind of blend, crafty feeling. The paper has certain kind of texture and it smells very nice. And the whole interior of this book makes you think deeper. And then we have the final one, which is the hardcover premium, which is also 80 grams premium paper, but the illustrations are with very strong and dense coloration that are very close and similar to the original illustrations that we have actually sketched it ourselves.
And finally, what's the relation between the octopus, the Justice Palace of Brussels, and our beautiful book?
Long story short, this sculpture is dedicated to the French science fiction writer Jules Verne, the writer of the 80 Days Around the World or 20 Tales Under the Sea. One of the sculptors of this octopus is the Belgian artist François Scheuten, who is actually the illustrator of the famous comic The Obscure Cities, Les Cités Obscures, where he illustrates the cities from perspective of corruptive urbanization and surreal dark urban mirage. Brussels is often the inspiration for it. Using the octopus and its tentacles as personification for strangulation, corruption and crime with perfect alibi, and placing this octopus in front of the Justice Palace is meant to evoke the surreal scenes from the comic books and stimulate people to observe the city with critical eye, but in a fun way.
And that is why we like this sculpture so much, because it shares the same kind of values and approaches like our book. The purpose of our book is the same like in this culture, to kind of stimulate people to look at their cities with a critical eye, but in a more fun and engaging way. We deeply believe that in this way we can make citizens more interested about their cities and finally make more inclusive urban spaces. I mean, in this way we can make certain kind of urban revolution with least engaged and involved energy, with fun sketches. Can we make urban revolution with fun sketches? Well, get the book and see it for yourself. And Mohammed, do you have something to say finally?
2024 is almost done, so we wish everybody a happy, healthy life and
Peaceful life.
Oh, that's very
Peaceful
important.
life. Stay tuned, subscribe, share, get the book. In the next season, in the next year, we'll be focusing a little bit more on solutions about gentrification, urbanization, and all of those crazy stuff. And we're also gonna try to engage artists to kind of show an alternative methods and engaging ways of showing interesting perceptions over these heavy urban phenomena. And for sure, next year we're coming with another book. But yeah, stay tuned.
Allez, cheers.